you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. It helps our channel grow. It helps our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know, as we're talking college football on this channel year-round. Appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button. Oh, tell you what, these college football preseason over-under win total predictions, they're rolling on. If you've missed any of them, do me a favor. Make sure to go back and find them. If you're watching on YouTube, click the subscribe button. We've done virtually all of the SEC, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, LSU, A&M, Auburn. We would have done Florida, but what the heck's going on with DJ Lagway? No one knows. Anyway, today we switch gears to the Big Ten. And listen, Ohio State's the defending champ, but to me, the narrative and the conversation in the Big Ten, I know Ohio State fans are going to be mad at me. The most interesting team, let me put it that way. The most interesting team in this league is the Penn State Nittany Lions. Can you believe year 12 of the James Franklin era, the team that is best built to compete at the highest level of college football, and it is officially put up or shut up time. It is officially go time. So let's talk about the 2025 Penn State Nittany Lions. Before we get to this season, I think we just got to spend a minute or two on last year because, listen, in a lot of ways, it was a wild success. In some ways, it was disappointing and frustrating and reminiscent of a lot of other seasons in the James Franklin era, okay? Early in the season, you aren't really tested all that much, to the credit of James Franklin, and he does deserve credit for this, rarely takes bad losses. You start out 7-0. You beat the teams you're supposed to. West Virginia at home. Illinois, we didn't know at the time, was going to be a 10-win team. But you get to October, you play Ohio State at home, you can't quite get over the hump. Good news is it's a 12-team playoff era. You're not going to be defined by one Saturday against Ohio State. And to your credit, you take care of business from there. Wasn't the toughest back half of the schedule necessarily, but you beat Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland to get to the Big Ten championship game for the first time in about a decade. What was it, about 8 full years? And to the credit of Penn State, I thought they actually played Oregon tougher than most expect. Oregon gets the win, but it's an 8-point victory for Oregon in a game that really could have gone either way. And in some ways, Penn State, I think in some ways they outplayed Oregon, okay? Even with that said, even with the loss, again, 12-team playoff era, to Penn State's credit, no bad losses, get into the playoff, beat SMU at home. Kevin Jennings, what a meltdown. You beat Boise on New Year's Eve in Arizona, and then you go play Notre Dame in Miami, You don't quite come out on top. You're in position, but the bottom line is you're there. You don't get the victory. You head into the offseason. But two thoughts. One, I'm just curious, and Penn State fans, you can get in the comment section. I think in some ways it was a frustrating season because, again, the three best teams on your schedule, Ohio State at home, Oregon and Indy, and, of course, Notre Dame in Miami, you don't get the victory. The counter to that is you win 11 regular season games, you play for a Big Ten title, and oh, by the way, you make the semis of the first ever 12-team college football playoff. And so I think there should be some excitement going into this year, especially because let's just call a spade a spade. Literally everything that could go right did in the offseason. You bring back virtually every key player. I won't break them down here. We're going to do it when we look at the offense and defense. But you bring back virtually every key player. Oh, by the way, Jim Knowles in as your defensive coordinator. Hard not to be excited, but also, again, make or break national championship type season. I thought it was interesting. In the spring, Jim Knowles was asked, does this look like a team that's good enough to win a national championship? He kind of just rolled his eyes and said, dumb question. Next, yeah, we're good enough. And so Penn State, so many expectations. Let's get into this. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Because to me, when you look at this Penn State team, what was the narrative going into the season for Ohio State last year, Michigan 2 years ago? You use your NIL money not so much to go spending in the portal, but to retain so many great players. Michigan 2 years ago, Ohio State last year. This year, it's Penn State's turn. Drew Aller back, 3,300 yards, 66% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, 5 INTs. And really across the board, just a more productive offense in year one of Andy Kolenicki's offense. You go back and look, this was a team that finished last season top 25 nationally in scoring, top 25 nationally in total offense, top 20 nationally in rushing. The one thing I will say about Drew Aller, and I think it's a metaphor a little bit for Penn State as a program, 3 biggest games he did not play well. 12 of 23, 135 yards against Notre Dame, 20 of 39. Now, to his credit, he did throw for three TDs and rush for 1 against Oregon. Passing was inconsistent, but he found the end zone when he needed to. And then 12 of 20, no touchdowns against Ohio State. So I just bring it up because the offense has to be more consistent. I think Drew Aller has to be better in bigger games. That is where the step is going to be made. You also can't deny 3rd in the Big Ten in passing yards, 9 200 plus. Like, the guy was good. He just needs to be better in big games. Good news, by the way, is that he don't got to do it alone. Because, again, that NIL money was spent wisely, spent to retain. And it's kind of crazy, all the guys that they brought back and have added on this offense. Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, as you can see on the screen, one of 2 FBS duos to each rush for 1,000 yards last year. Katron Allen over 1,100 yards. Nick Singleton just under 1,100 yards. A combined 20 rushing touchdowns. Now, listen, James Franklin's talked about the fact that they have both been able to stay fresh because they have each other. They're both back. Obviously, in the receiver room, Tyler Warren, I wouldn't really call a receiver, but first-round tight end is gone. But let's remember, wide receiver was deemed to be a weak spot for this offense. Doesn't really feel like they've developed one probably since Jahan Dotson left. But again, we live in an NIL world. Use your money wisely, and that's exactly what they did. They went into the portal, added Kyron Hudson from USC, 38 catches, 3 touchdowns a season ago. The big one in the spring, Trebor Pena comes over from Syracuse. This was a player that, kind of an interesting backstory, was mostly a return guy. Then last year just absolutely broke out with Kyle McCord throwing him the ball. 84 catches, 941 yards, 9 touchdowns a season ago. And I think it's worth noting, I'm glad producer Matt threw Devontae Ross on the screen here, because he's kind of the guy that gets lost in the shuffle. 76 catches, over 1,000 yards receiving. He comes in from Troy. That receiver core, listen, I think you can argue it is as upgraded as any group anywhere in college football. And then, oh, by the way, on the offensive line, 4 starters back. Most of them are Sunday guys. Drew Shell, and I even, in my prep work for all this, saw that Olu Fashanu, who remember was a first-round pick 2 years ago in 2024, the 2024 NFL draft, so just finished his rookie year, said that he believes Drew Shelton will be better than him. Tough to be at a top 10 pick, but Olu Fashanu seems to feel that way. Let's get to the defense. I mean, what do you want me to say? It was awesome again, and has a chance to be even better. Now, to be clear, let's call a spade a spade. A couple things. One, it's hard to be much better than they were simply because of the fact that they were top 10 nationally in scoring defense, giving up less than 17 points per game, top 10 nationally in total defense, top 10 nationally in rush defense, and they lost, what was he? Abdul Carter. What was he, the 3rd pick in the draft? I think he was. 2nd pick, 3rd pick. Travis Hunter was 2nd. I believe Abdul Carter was 3rd. Anyway, you're going to lose that kind of player. It's tough to believe that you can be better, but there is reason to believe that you can be better, and it starts with Jim Knowles. Listen, I don't think you can emphasize enough what this addition brings, because it's not just Tom Allen was fine. It's not like Tom Allen was bad. But to me, what this says is that this is James Franklin's way of saying, we're going all in. Even for me, no excuses, play like a champion. If we have a chance to upgrade at this position, we're going to do so. That's exactly what he did. Jim Knowles, of course, coming off of a national championship, but he built great defenses at Oklahoma State, other places. I mean, this is one of the elite minds on that side of the football. Jim Knowles in at defensive coordinator. Now, let's get to the individuals. Denai Dennis Sutton is probably the guy that I think, in my opinion, has the biggest chance to just be like a household name by the end of the season. 13 TFLs, 8.5 sacks last year. Outside of him, plenty of talent still on the defensive line. Zane Durant, 11 TFLs, 3 sacks. Alonzo Ford, three tackles for loss. Excuse me. I was going to say TNFs, not Thursday night footballs. We're talking tackles for loss. Linebacker, Tony Rojas is a guy who's really developed over the last 2 years, 58 tackles, 6 TFLs, 3 INTs last year. Dominic DeLuca, much the same. And then the secondary, a lot of talent back. You can see on the screen, most notably, Zakee Wheatley, 96 tackles, 2.5 TFLs, 3 INTs. And I think, by the way, that's a big part of this defense that needs to be acknowledged. They forced a crap ton of turnovers a season ago. One of the best teams in college football at forcing turnovers, and they bring back a lot outside of Zakee Wheatley, Zion Tracy back with 2 INTs, AJ Harris, the former 5-star who began his career at Georgia, back after an INT season a year ago. And oh, by the way, on top of that, you also have a couple other notable names, including Elliott Washington, who could be a breakout star. All right, really quickly before we get to our official over-under pick, we got to look at the schedule, because I'll say this. There's an old saying in life, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I don't know if you can call yourself lucky when you have Ohio State and Oregon on a schedule, but all things considered, this is about as manageable of a schedule as you can possibly have, okay? So no real notable games out of the out-of-conference. Nevada, Florida International, Villanova. Yeah, you don't win those games. We got bigger issues than Oregon or Ohio State, okay? But let's look at this schedule carefully once we get to Big Ten play. And by the way, that's not a criticism. I don't understand why any Big Ten team, any SEC team would schedule a marquee out-of-conference game. Great for us as fans. To make the playoff, though, you got to win games in the league. All right, so once the league play starts, this is where it gets interesting to me. You open with Oregon at home. That certainly will not be easy. But I think what's kind of worth noting about that Oregon game is a couple things. One, Oregon coming across country. This is a game that has already been announced as a 7:30 Eastern kickoff game. So this isn't big noon. This is a night game. This is a whiteout game. Now, you can't say it's Dante Moore's first career start on the road, because he started games at UCLA. And on top of that, he also will have one start under his belt, because this is Oregon's second road game. They play at Northwestern a few weeks before. But that's also what's interesting to me. Oregon is off of a bye for Penn State at home. It will be Oregon is off of a bye for Penn State, okay, at home. Oregon, this will be their 5th straight game to start the year, and it will already be, before the end of September, their second cross-country game. Advantage Penn State in that one. From there, you do have to go cross-country to UCLA. My guess is there's probably more Penn State fans at the Rose Bowl than there are UCLA fans. Northwestern at home. And then, to me, I think the 3-game stretch that I don't want to say is going to define the season, because, again, to Penn State's credit, they largely take care of the teams they're supposed to. But at Iowa, Ohio State on the road, and then Indiana at home. Listen, I'll say this. Iowa, really tough place to play. Ohio State speaks for itself. I think Indiana is going to be really good again. I know everyone wants to rag on Curt Cignetti, but that is the stretch that if there's something weird happening, I would assume it would be there. Ohio State's going to be tough enough. Do you potentially have a letdown game against Indiana a week later? And then you close Michigan State. You do get Nebraska, a good team, but they are at home, and you get Rutgers. Let's get to the official over-under. It is 10.5 in the DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, I'll say this. I'm not touching the 10.5. That is tied for the most in college football, along with Ohio State and Notre Dame. But what I would also say is this. It's kind of a put up or shut up year for Penn State, for James Franklin, for this whole entire program. All of your key players are back. You spent a ton on the coaching staff. You spent in NIL where it was needed in the portal. And so it's kind of got to be the over, right? You have to go 11-1. You can't lose at home to Oregon and on the road at Ohio State. You can't lose to Ohio State and then take a weird loss somewhere else. And I'll say this too. It's not only that, let me just say this. I actually think the schedule, as weird as it sounds, is sort of manageable, all things considered. Producer Matt, pop up the schedule again when you get a second here. Let's look at this schedule closely. Oregon, at home, night game, off of a bye. Ohio State on the road, not easy, but that is also off of a bye. So just think about that. Penn State plays its two biggest games of the year off a bye. Oregon at home, Ohio State on the road. I'm not saying you got to go undefeated 12-0, but you cannot lose every meaningful game this year like you have in the past. So to me, the schedule's not terrible, all things considered. Your two biggest games are off of a bye. There is no Michigan, which should be improved. There is no Illinois, which is coming off a 10-win season. There is no USC, which I guess in theory could be tough. You know, they're going to have players. You just got to win. So I don't know what else there is to say other than that. Listen, if I was going to make a bet on Penn State, I would take terrible odds and just take them to make the playoff. But this is a team. Every piece is there. Like I just said, you spent money on the staff. You spent money on the roster. You spent money to retain players. You got to go and win. I think anything short of a 10-win season or anything short of an 11-win regular season would sort of be a disappointment. And again, I know you can now win the national championship with 2, maybe even 3 regular season losses, but I just don't know what else you can ask for if you're Penn State. Everything has been building for this year. James Franklin, go out and deliver. I'll stay away from the 10.5, but this to me is a definitive playoff team. Of course, barring injury, you could say that for everybody. But barring injury, this is a playoff team. This is a team that should be in Indianapolis. Lastly, by the way, when you consider what everyone else in this conference lost, as you know, Ohio State lost a ton of talent. Oregon lost a ton of talent. Michigan could be starting a true freshman at quarterback. I know they're not on Ohio State's schedule, but just a lot of winnable games for Penn State. So that is my Penn State take. You know, nothing else to really add here. Go out and do it, James Franklin. We're tired of talking about hypotheticals and next year's. Just go do it. I think that's it for Penn State. That's what I need you to do. If you're not subscribed to College Football Betting, please make sure to do so. You can do it on Apple. You can do it on Spotify. If you enjoyed this, by the way, subscribe on YouTube. And if you're listening on YouTube, the links to Apple and Spotify are right in the description. So go ahead and subscribe there as well. Really would appreciate your support. But yeah, we're well over 1,000 subscribers at this point. Let's get to 2,000 before the start of the season. That is all for today's show. We'll be back soon previewing, how about this, the Michigan Wolverines. We'll chat then. Michigan up next.